That's not what I want. I liked all sorts of science. No, it's just a coincidence, I think. The profession is
It's not
not.
recognized yet.
No, I think Japan has this issue that anyone who can speak English can do science communication.
Sorry
Japan's
to
cycle.
put you on the spot,
No, no,
you
but
know. Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Scientist Podcast. This is where we take an inside look at people's career, getting advice from people with first-hand experience. Today's episode is the third and final episode of the series of interviews I did at Kyushu University. So if you haven't checked the previous two episodes, make sure to check them out. Our guest today is Dr. Ayumi Koso. She is a neuroscientist and a science communicator. She's also one of the two founders of Science Communication Forum in Japan, together with Amanda Alvarez. Today, Dr. Ayumi shares why she decided to pursue a career in science communication, and she shares her first-hand experience as one of the leading science communicators in English in Japan. So if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe and let me know if there are any careers that you would like me to cover. Write a comment in the comment section or reach out to me on my social media. All right, now let's get to the video. So, hi, Ayumi.
hi.
How are you?
Good.
Thank you very much for
No.
taking the time. I know you're busy.
No,
We've
no,
been
no.
trying to set up this interview for a while. We couldn't do
Right.
it.
I know. I'm so sorry.
No, no, no. I know you're busy. You said you had a baby.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
so congratulations. I
Thank
don't know,
you.
maybe I'm way too late on that, but
No, no, it's fine.
how old is the baby?
So it's a he, it's a boy, and
Uh-huh.
he's 1 years and
Okay,
3 months. Yeah.
just 1 month, 1 year and 3 months late, but
Yeah. No.
congratulations
Thank you.
anyways.
Thank you.
But I know how much a baby would take an effect on your life.
Right.
Like everything changes, right?
Yeah. Everything
So this is
changes.
why I saw this as a good opportunity. You're attending the Japan Sci-Com Forum,
Yes.
and you are actually part of the panel
Right. This afternoon. Yes. Yes.
this afternoon. And you're always, I think, part of the organization committee for
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Japan
Yes.
Sci-Com Forum,
Yeah.
right?
So the reason for being always the organizer for a team is that I'm one of the co-founders of Japan Cyclone Forum,
Right.
and Amanda Alvarez, who used to be at Riken but now is in the Finnish AIS Center, we were the founders of Japan Cyclone Forum, and I think that's the reason why I've kind of stayed on in the organizing committee for since the beginning.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect. So can you first introduce yourself to people who are
Right.
watching? Who are you? What do you do?
Right.
And your relation to Japan Sci-Com Forum. You just explained it, but can
Right.
you elaborate
Right.
on that?
So it's very difficult, but so I'm Ayumi Koso. I'm a so I wear two hats. I'm a press or communications officer, so a practitioner, and also I do a little bit of research on science communication, so communicating science. And right now I am the director of the National Bioresource Projects Public Relations Office at the National Institute of Genetics. So long.
That is a long title.
Yeah. So this is a mixed, the Ministry of Education funded project that I'm working for as a practitioner. And what we do as a project is that we have all these experimental materials like animals or plants or microorganisms. We collect all the different strains, and then we have a center for each of the organisms that we are distributing. So maybe, for example, Kyushu University, for example, we're in Kyushu, so has a center for morning glories, the asagao. So they have like strains back to the Edo period, and they collect them all, and they give them out to researchers who would like to work on morning glory research. So Japan has made this sort of science infrastructure where researchers don't really have to go scrambling to make their own new strain if there's already cited in the paper. You can just go to these core centers and say, I would like, this strain for my research. And that's supposed to accelerate and speed up your research because you don't have to, go on from zero to creating your own strain.
True.
And because this is funded governmentally, people, I mean, you don't have to pay a lot of money. It's just,
Yeah.
the shipping
Funded by
fee,
the
yeah,
government.
and all the, things that you would need. Yeah, so
To carry on
yeah,
the
yeah,
experiment,
yeah,
right?
yeah. So I mean, it's cost effective, I think. And while my science communication career started, it previously was communicating science to the mass audience or like through journalists. It's kind of changed, evolved, and I'm right now communicating science to fellow scientists because we want the biological medical field of science researchers to be using our biological materials and to speed up their research. So
So
yeah,
I'm
sure.
sorry to interrupt
No,
you.
no, no.
What's your background? Like,
Oh, okay.
you did not mention that
Yeah,
you
yeah,
do a lot
sorry.
of
Yeah, yeah. So
projects
I
right
just
now,
went
but
into I just went
yeah,
into what I do
yeah,
daily. So
yeah,
before moving all this
yeah.
into this, my background is in cognitive science, neuroscience. So
Okay.
I have a PhD in neuro linguistics. So it means I'm talking about how language is processed in your brain. So that's my background. So I have a background in biology and linguistics.
Okay, and what did you do right after you finished your
So
PhD?
after I finished my PhD, moved on straight into science communication. So I changed careers. Yes, that's what
Immediately.
happened. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah,
that
yeah,
is quite. Yeah, that is nice, I guess.
yeah,
So
yeah,
you
yeah.
knew what you wanted to do right from the beginning, because I think so the audience or like maybe people who are listening to the podcast are usually like kind of PhD students or
Okay,
people in their postdocs who would like to know, would need some kind of guidance or need to hear stories from people who
right.
are already
In the field.
in the
Yeah,
field,
of
right?
course.
Or
Yeah.
like they finished their PhDs and they're now in their continuing their careers. They're not just kind of still scrambling to find their way, right? So you kind of knew immediately that you wanted to do science communication after graduating your PhD.
Yeah, I sort of. I mean, yeah, I guess. I mean, I knew that after doing my PhD, I wanted to do something related to more society. So because I was doing research in neurolinguistics, it was more basic science. I couldn't really see the application of where the findings or the research that I continue to do would be utilized in society, if that makes
It
sense.
does.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I was starting to think my community of neurolinguists wasn't that big. I mean, I don't know how big it is right now, but it wasn't that big. And I was thinking, for the rest of my life, will I be, in this community for the rest of my life? And I thought maybe that's not what I want. And I started looking for careers that I might be able to pursue with a PhD. And also, I knew that I liked science. I liked all sorts of science. And then at that time, Japan was booming with science communication, and they were hiring, new positions. And I said, well, maybe this might be the fit, and I just jumped in. So
Nice.
it's not like I was like
It's not
so
you didn't
yeah.
plan it all like
No,
that.
no, it's just a coincidence, I think.
I
Yeah,
see.
yeah.
But keeping an open mind is also quite important in these
Right,
kinds of, especially when you're done with your PhD, right?
right,
Like you have to keep an open mind and see the skills you have and
right,
how can you apply them
right.
to get to work in a career that you are interested in, right?
Yeah,
For you,
yeah.
it's science
Yeah,
communication.
yeah. And the funny thing is, when I moved into science communication, right, I
Yeah.
thought, okay, I'm done with research. I'm not going to do any more research, right? But after doing science communication
Yeah.
as a practitioner, I asked myself, well, I'm doing all this practice, but there are so many unanswered questions, and I don't really know how to evaluate these, communication practices. I need to do research, and
I
I'm
need to
back
do
to
research again.
research again. So, and then when you're going back to research, but having this PhD helps you so much because you've already shown yourself that you can do some kind of research in some area, right?
Yeah.
And that qualification just helps you to move into another research field because you already have that qualification. So I think
Yeah.
looking back, I mean, I thought, when I moved to science communication, all I
Yeah.
was thinking is maybe I missed,
Yeah.
like 6 years of I might have like wasted 6 years of my time in doing, research. But in the end, looking back, it hasn't. It has been a very
It's just a
positive thing.
part of you, right? A
Yeah.
part of the skills that you have, right? Yeah. Going back into Japan Cyclone Forum, like what was the idea behind starting, such a project? And did
Right.
you see it growing into this, something that is very nice? I think we all, like everyone I speak to in the forum, like are looking forward for the next one.
Oh,
We're
really?
here and they were like, okay, I wonder what we're gonna do next year. So it's
Wow.
like we just love this chance of
I'm sorry.
gathering and talking to like-minded people. So how did you start that idea?
Yeah, so I think the concept was that, first of all, so there weren't, as you said, there weren't many networking opportunities, skill honing opportunities in English that people who were interested in science communication could participate. There was no platform. That was one reason. And also, I think it's still a continuing problem, but I think science communicators are not appreciated or not. I mean, the profession is
It's not
not.
recognized yet.
No, no.
So everyone I talk to about science communication, and then even this conference, like when I try to explain it to my superiors back at my job, and they're like, what is science communication? I'm like, it's what I do here. you know you know what my job is? That is science communication, right? So it's unfortunately people don't know what science
Right,
communication is
right,
yet, right?
right. Yeah, yeah.
So in your point of view, how do we kind of fix that?
Oh, that's a very difficult question. I don't really have an
In
answer.
Japan, like it is like I think it's written in katakana, right? Science communication, right? And there is like I think an association for
Right,
Japanese science
right, right,
communicators,
right,
right?
right.
But we don't really see that. I mean, globally, even speaking, like science communication is relatively a very young field,
Right,
right?
right. And sometimes when you talk about science communicators, some researchers use the word science communicators to mention researchers who are interested in science communication and not necessarily practitioners who are doing science communication. So I think we have to be. It's a little bit. The concept is a little bit difficult because I don't think when we say science communicators, we're all talking about the same science, like with the same definition.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's one of the big issues I've noticed, and that may be making it complicated. And also another thing is that when you talk about science communicators, I think in Japan they talk about science communicators mostly in working in museum settings, I think, or maybe reaching out to
I mean, that's
schools.
the image,
Yeah, that's
right?
the
Like
image.
that's
In
the
Japan, yeah.
not even Japan. I think
Is
even
it?
outside,
Oh, really?
because I feel like science communicators or people who talk about science are just looked at like people are in museums, right? Or in like
Oh,
research institutes that
right.
explain stuff to you, right? If you visit that kind of place, right? But not this setting or like the people that we see over here and writers,
Right.
scientific writers and stuff like that. Still, I don't know. At least it's the way I see it. Maybe it's
Right.
my view.
Oh, no, no,
I'm not
no,
really sure
no.
that it's
Right, right.
correct or wrong.
Yeah. But that's the feeling. I completely agree. I think museum settings, reaching out to schools are sort of seen as science communicators, at least in Japan. And then when it becomes to English language science communication, I think Japan has this issue that anyone who can speak English can do science communication. Because if you translate the Japanese to English, why? Why wouldn't the world understand? Because it's in English. But then it's a whole different problem. It's not just the language. It's just
It's the
how
how. It's
and
the
what are the caveats of trying to communicate science. What are the issues? What are the emerging issues? We talked about AI and its issues right yesterday.
yeah.
So those are the issues, and new technologies come in, new ways of communicating science come in, and it's just not just not translating Japanese to English is not.
It's
It's not. It
it's
doesn't.
that's
Yeah.
it's not just that, right?
Yeah.
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 Sorry, we were talking about Japan Cycling Forum
Right.
and we
Right.
just jumped all over the
Yeah,
place.
no,
Can you
no, but
can you go
these
back to
yeah,
that?
but
Yeah.
these are the issues like
Mm.
that Japan doesn't see science communication in English as like a profession because they think it just someone who's not walking down the road who can speak English can do sort of science communication sort of thing, right?
Obviously.
They'll just hire someone at their university who
Mm.
can speak English and who can read Japanese and maybe translate that. But that's
Mm.
not science communication. That's just translating and
Mm.
interpretation, right? So
Yeah.
the profession isn't. I mean, the image of the profession is not really what it should be. The awareness wasn't there at that time. So I think we touched upon several issues, but I think these are all the issues that we saw. And I thought it would be just fun and exciting if we could all get together at Network and just exchange ideas and best practices and just become friends and colleagues. Because,
Right.
yeah, we're all around, Japan and we don't get a chance to meet.
Honestly, I've attended, I think, all of the
Oh,
meetings so
okay.
far. The
Wow.
first one was in Tokyo,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And I remember becoming interested in the field of science of communication
Oh,
that year,
wow.
probably.
Okay.
And I was like, this is probably a long shot, but I'll just research science communication Japan. And then the link appeared. And I'm
Oh,
like, that is such a cool coincidence that I was, just starting to think of this field because it
uh-huh.
was, I think, during my third year of PhD,
Okay.
third or fourth, May, I don't know.
Right.
And I was looking into careers in science
Mm-hmm.
communication, and I thought, okay, this is cool. This is something that I would love to do,
Mm-hmm.
right? So luckily, by a chance, like you guys made this, and I can't be happier than this. But how do you see, you know, Japan's field of science communication in English
Mm.
progressing in the next coming years?
Oh, it's,
Is
I don't. Yeah, it's a
the first problem, the first step to solving a problem is recognizing it, right?
right,
Do
right.
you think that the Japanese government or like mixed in general realize that okay, there are steps that need to be taken to
Mm-hmm.
promote more science
Mm-hmm.
in English in Japan?
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a difficult question. I don't. Well, one thing I can say is that so we have Japan
Sorry to
Cycle.
put you on the spot,
No, no, but
know.
one thing I can say is that Japan Cycle Forum has not been really aware or been recognized by the domestic
Mm.
science communication associations, or for instance, for like JST, who fund science communication events. But by coincidence, I'm probably not supposed to be making this public too much, but I'm sure it's going to go online maybe next month, if that's, I don't know, or is it going to go online soon? But anyway, JST has sort of recognized JSF and has invited me to talk about JSF. So we are getting some sort of recognition from the sort of high up organizations in Japan about communicating science in English. So I
This is
think it's one
great.
step that's,
Exactly, right?
yeah,
Like,
but it's slow. It's not like it's
but it's like
doing.
always, like one step at a time.
Yeah.
Ippo ippo, right? Like,
Yeah,
yeah, you have
yeah,
to kind of take it one
yeah.
step at a time. Well,
Yeah, I don't know how that's going to, end up and develop, but I think it's one step forward that this, Japan Cycling Forum as an event and a conference and an activity has been recognized by other, science communication entities who have the decision making and who have the budget to maybe boost it up. So I think that's one
okay,
step.
as one who was one of the earliest to promote science communication by creating Japan Science Cycling Forum, for people who are interested in, doing a career in science
Right,
communication,
right.
and now for example, they're doing their postdocs or they're still in their PhD. I think for PhD students, their main concern is to their research and being able to graduate.
Right, of course,
But
of
I
course.
think it would help a lot also to have this idea in the back of their head of the career that they want to take, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So if someone is interested in pursuing a career in science communication, in your opinion, what would be the steps that they ought to take to
Come to Japan Psychom Forum if you
yeah.
can,
Well,
and
that is the first step, yeah.
and I think you should. I mean, ask. I think there's no one sort of correct step into moving into SciComm, and I think you need to talk to a lot of people who are already in the area and find out if it's what you really want. When I was a graduate student thinking about moving into like out of research, actually I went out and asked. I took a science communication course that was run at the National Science Museum, 国立科学博物館 in Ueno. And there
Oh.
I met many,
Oh yeah,
many.
there is one.
Yeah.
But it's in Japanese
It's
though,
in
right?
Japanese,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
there, I met many people related to science communication. So I was able to talk to like press officers or communication officers from universities, or maybe even you could do that in government agencies, right? If you do science and technology policy, that's also a part of science communication. I talked to researchers doing science and technology and society sort of research. I talked to people coming from museums. I was able to, listen from people coming from newspapers, science journalists, and they just gave me all options of what science communication could look like.
But now what you just said, like this is another thing about science communication. Science communication covers a whole wide of
I know.
range of careers, right?
Yeah.
It's like every professional person that deals with science and sharing science could be a science communicator,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And this is why, like, if you're a researcher or if you're a PhD student, it is a field that you can easily kind of feel your way into,
Yeah.
since you already are in touch with the science, right?
yeah.
You just have to learn the skills to communicate it the
Yeah.
best way
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
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 Well, for everyone out there interested in science communication, is it cool if I list your email
Oh yeah.
and
Sure.
for people
Sure.
to,
Yeah.
see?
If they can.
Or just like the Japan Psychom Forum website. So
Yeah.
that's even better, right?
Yeah.
So
That's even
then
better.
everyone related will be
Yeah.
on the
Up
list,
there.
right?
I'm on Twitter X. Yeah, and feel free to reach out to us. Yes.
Yeah. So thank you very much,
No,
Ayumi.
thank you very much for having
And
me.
yeah, it was great, listening to you speak. I know you're busy also, so I'm not gonna take so much more from your time. But yeah, thank you very much.
Oh, thanks
Yeah,
for having me.
no worries.